Tonight, the painful price check for Canadians forking out more to feed their families. How spending habits are shifting at the grocery store.
If you want to have the proper amount of food, then you're taking rent or bill money.
And the foods biting into budgets. What beauty brand is breaking the mold in the face of a trade war?
They saw an opening in the market.
Plus the cultural phenomenon fueling the Canadian business boom. And a success story fit for a king.
Oh my darling, I love you.
The BC costume maker who has fans, including our very own, strutting their stuff.
You can do a shimmy, you know?
And all shook up.
Faster. Come on. Thank you. Thank you very much.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening. If the price of food is forcing you and your family to change the way you eat, perhaps even how often, a new national snapshot shows you are not alone. That cost is the top expense pressure for the majority of Canadians. CTV's John Rao on the lengths they're going to just for the basics.
When it comes to attitudes towards food prices, the survey found they remain a top expense pressure for households.
My experience is they've been going up, 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 up.
The report finding many Canadians are increasingly challenged by persistent food inflation, and it's been changing how they shop, cook, and eat in order to cope.
Canadians are adopting frugal habits, like switching brands, looking for coupons, discounts when they're buying products.
The survey, in fact, finding almost half of the 3,000 respondents are seeking out more sales and discounts. Nearly a quarter are using more coupons and shopping at cheaper stores as they try to make ends meet.
But yeah, you can find deals and sales all the time.
With more than a quarter reporting they struggle to afford food, up from nearly 23% a year ago. Food banks have reported a huge surge in the number of families seeking help.
Nice to get it out there. Like, this is so good that people are talking about it.
Karina Roberts is a single mom with 3 boys who says she may need to start going to a food bank every 2 weeks.
They are helpful, but I mean, then again, sometimes they don't have everything either. And it's a lot of canned stuff. And that's great. It's awesome that there's that help, but there's not a lot of fresh. There's not a lot of meat. There's not a lot of fruit.
The survey found many Canadians are prioritizing eating at home to manage costs. And on average, respondents say they now pay $515 a month for household food, compared to under $500 in the spring, which is a modest increase. On that front, many do overestimate the rate of food inflation this year. Almost 1 in 3 believe prices have gone up more than 10% over the last year, nearly triple the actual amount. And while affordability is still a major issue, the survey also finding that Canadians are cautiously optimistic that food costs may somewhat stabilize in 2026. John Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
As John mentioned, food prices seem to be the biggest pain point for Canadians dealing with inflation. CTV's Adrian Ghobrial finds out the challenges shoppers are running into in the grocery aisles.
If the cost at the grocery store has left you with a bad taste in your mouth, you're not alone.
Before, maybe I spend like $50 to $80 a weekly, but now it's like $150, $200.
You're getting used to the high prices.
Yeah. Fact of life, I guess.
Food price experts say those looking for a deal in the aisles are quickly learning that at the moment, there's really no safe place inside a Canadian grocery store. This month's inflation report found that food prices in October rose by 3.4%, down from a 4% spike in September. So as of right now, any incremental decrease in food inflation on a month-to-month basis isn't being felt by Canadians.
Because the challenge that we have with food inflation right now is that it remains way above general inflation.
Leading the way when it comes to the priciest pickings at your local grocer, the meat counter.
2 chicken breasts used to be like $7, now it's like 15, $20 for 2 little chicken breasts, right?
All chicken prices are up 23% year to year. Ground beef is up almost 22% as well. Proteins in general is almost 40% of all the money you spend at the grocery store.
With the federal government dropping counter tariffs against the U.S., there is a hope that the rate of food price inflation will continue to decrease and finally be passed down to consumers as stores slash prices to keep loyal customers coming back for a second helping.
Prices here at the grocery store remain elevated and have exceeded overall inflation for 9 consecutive months. Adrian Ghobrial, CTV News, Toronto.
And later in the show, we'll tell you why a holiday tradition is also getting pricier. What's behind the higher cost of Christmas trees? Well, the trade war with the U.S. has left a lot of Canadian businesses reeling. One is bucking the trend in a big way. Sukoshi has already made a big impact across Canada. And now, as CTV's Judy Trinh shows us, they're making a push to go global.
They waited hours to see K-pop star, former GOT7 band member Mark Twan, now a soloist, up close.
I am a fan of GOT7 and I flew from Edmonton this morning.
They are fans of the music and the moves.
I've cut choreography. They're all very synchronized.
A cultural moment created at Sukoshi, a Canadian retailer headquartered in Toronto. K-pop fans have become loyal customers. 70% of the beauty products on the store's shelves are from South Korea.
I was definitely more interested in it when K-pop started booming as well, right? Like BTS or Blackpink, they started getting really popular. So everyone was like, oh, these people are so beautiful.
Sukoshi has 16 stores across Canada, but the CEO has bigger ambitions.
One of the things as Canadians is we're very humble in what we do. And for me, I just want to show that, Asian beauty has a global presence. And there's so much runway in the U.S. for this.
You heard her. Sukoshi is opening on the Upper East Side.
In September, undaunted by a trade war, Sukoshi opened a store in New York. Next year, it has plans to expand to 40 stores. Almost all the new locations will be in the U.S. Even with tariffs, the company says it's been able to keep prices stable.
Strengthening our margins, working with our brand partners, figuring out ways that we can sort of grow the industry and make it a win in all situations.
Sukoshi is already the biggest purveyor of K-beauty in North America. The company wants to be the Canadian equivalent of Sephora, based here, but with a global footprint. Judy Trinh, CTV News, Toronto.
It has been a difficult day for us here at CTV. BCE, which owns CTV, has laid off nearly 700 people throughout the Bell organization, including 4 of our colleagues in the news division. A Bell spokesperson says the reduction represents less than 2% of Bell Canada's workforce and includes 650 management positions along with 40 positions at Bell Media, all non-unionized. Bell says the move is part of its, quote, 3-year strategic business plan. We are learning more tonight about potential plans for new oil pipeline, one long coveted by the Alberta government. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver with what could be in the deal and the challenges it could still face.
The oil pipeline Alberta Premier Danielle Smith has been pushing for could soon be one step closer to reality.
We know that we've got a little bit more work to do on the technical side to be able to submit our pipeline proposal for consideration to the Major Projects Office. We've targeted the spring on that.
And when that happens, Ottawa is likely to be on board. Sources say a memorandum of understanding between the Premier and the Prime Minister is coming down the pipeline. As part of that deal, sources say Ottawa is considering easing a BC North Coast tanker ban, lowering or removing the emissions cap, and strengthening the industrial carbon tax to bolster carbon capture.
An MOU can be directionally, we would like to do this, and it can help thaw the ice on other issues like the emissions cap, but I'm not sure that anybody should bet on a pipeline happening anytime soon.
Many First Nations and BC's Premier hope a new pipeline never gets built. If Ottawa makes changes to the tanker ban as part of this deal to make it happen, David Eby fears major energy projects underway in his province could get scrapped.
For them to be able to go ahead, we need the support of coastal First Nations. It is fragile. They are not enthusiastic about these projects, but they are willing to tolerate them in exchange for protecting the coast from a heavy oil spill.
Ottawa says it wants BC's backing, but also has suggested it doesn't need it.
BC will be consulted, but BC doesn't get a veto because, as I've said, jurisdictionally, a pipeline that crosses more than one province is in the federal bailiwick.
The Energy Minister says talks with Alberta are constructive and that Ottawa will have more to say in a few weeks. Omar.
All right, Annie, thank you. Alberta native and former Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland is taking on a new job as the CEO of Rhodes Trust. The organization hands out the prestigious Rhodes Scholarships, allowing students to pursue fully funded postgraduate studies at Oxford University, something she once did. It's not clear when Freeland, who currently represents a Toronto riding, will give up her seat in Parliament, though she's expected to take on her new role next July. The Prime Minister continuing his overseas tour today, signing a deal with the UAE. CTV's Rachel Aiello is traveling with Mark Carney and digs into what else is on the table.
Immersing himself in Emirati culture, Prime Minister Mark Carney took a midday break from bilateral and business meetings to tour the largest mosque in the country alongside Canada's ambassador to United Arab Emirates. Constructed using materials from across the globe, Carney called it a privilege to see.
Apart from the sheer beauty and the inspiration that it provides, it unifies in so many different ways.
And while the local government welcomed Canadian cameras in to capture that wasn't the case earlier when the Prime Minister and the President of the UAE had the first in-person leader-to-leader meeting in more than 40 years. During that private sit-down, Carney and his Emirati counterpart signed a new investment protection pact, known as a FIPA, and agreed to accelerate talks towards a new CEPA, a free trade agreement that, when finalized, would expand market access and facilitate billions of dollars in UAE investment into major port, mine, LNG, and critical mineral projects in Canada.
So the FIPA agreement took close to 10 years to get done. Are you at all confident that the CEPA could be finished on a faster clip?
Totally. This is,
what gives you that confidence?
well, you know, one of the reasons these things either get done or not done is leadership. If no one owns it or drives it, it's not going to happen.
While this country is a growing hub of economic activity, it's also under scrutiny over its involvement in the war in Sudan. And today, Carney had back-to-back meetings with big financial players, but took no questions on what specific security issues he raised with the president. The Prime Minister's office said there was no time in his schedule. Omar?
All right, Rachel Aiello in Abu Dhabi tonight. A startling and dangerous moment at the UN Climate Summit in Brazil today.
Whoa.
A fire broke out in a pavilion, triggering an evacuation. Video from the site shows at least one of the structures in flames inside, and the frantic moments as authorities began to clear people out. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he will speak to President Donald Trump in the coming days about the U.S. draft peace plan to end the war between Russia and Ukraine. The 28-point plan did not include the involvement of Ukraine or its European partners. The Associated Press reports it appears to be more favorable to Russia, requiring Ukraine to cede land and limit the size of its military. Donald Trump floated the death penalty at Democratic veterans in Congress, who released a joint video urging U.S. service members to refuse unlawful orders. On Truth Social, the U.S. president called it seditious behavior punishable by death and reposted "Hang them, George Washington would." The White House walked back Trump's suggestion.
Just to be clear, does the president want to execute members of Congress? No.
Now that Trump has signed the bill ordering the release of the Epstein files, there's already concern the documents' release could be slowed down or even withheld. Here's CTV's Joy Malvin.
It's the moment many survivors and their families have been fighting for. The countdown officially on to release a massive documents the Justice Department has on the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Flight logs, travel records, financial transactions, and plea deals.
My sister couldn't name those names simply because it would put her life at risk. It would put her family's life at risk. These people could sue you into homelessness. They're so powerful.
President Donald Trump, who was friends with Epstein for more than a decade, resisted releasing the files, reversing course at the last minute, and still calling it a hoax, claiming it distracts from his achievements. The question now, how much will the DOJ withhold? The law says information could be kept back if it jeopardizes an active federal investigation or ongoing prosecution.
I believe precisely in order to try to shield information, they have opened a new investigation, which is on its face politically tinged, going after only Democrats.
The president just ordered new investigations into prominent Democrats like former President Bill Clinton and former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, who stepped back from his teaching position at Harvard over his ties to Epstein.
Any tactic to delay this process is another smoke and mirror from this administration, and the American people have to be watchful of how they implement this bill.
Tonight, lawmakers and some Republicans are watching and warning against any attempts to slow this down. The Justice Department has 30 days to release the files. Omar?
All right, Joy, thank you. Coming up, what's behind this shocking video of a body being dragged in Quebec? Alerts have been issued for Saskatchewan's two biggest cities, with health officials warning of potential lethal substances on the streets responsible for a major spike in overdoses. CTV's Alison Bamford on the risks.
We're sitting, as of the 18th, about 182 overdoses for the month.
Saskatoon's fire department is sounding the alarm. In a single week, crews were called to 104 overdoses, 2 of them fatal, adding to an unprecedented year. So far, the department has responded to about 1,000 more than it did in all of 2024.
We're noticing a lot more naloxone-resistant overdoses.
Naloxone reverses opioid overdoses, but can't counter the effects of other substances. Prairie Harm Reduction tests samples of street drugs and puts out their own warnings when toxic supply is in circulation. They say more and more sedatives are being added to opioids.
A few years ago, it would have just been the fentanyl mixed in with other things, and now, you know, it's fentanyl plus this and plus that, and it's always just like a different mixture of stuff.
Lethal mixtures making it even harder to control.
It seems to be getting progressively worse.
This week, the province's health ministry issued drug alerts in Saskatchewan's two biggest cities, Saskatoon and Regina, both experiencing a spike in overdoses that in many cases required multiple doses of naloxone. At times, CPR and other life-saving measures were needed too.
So it does add quite a bit more complexity to our day-to-day operations, a lot more pressure on our staff.
And that pressure takes its toll on the department as well. The deputy chief says they're focusing on the mental health of their members, support that will continue as long as the drug crisis does. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Quebec's coroner's office has suspended its contract with a funeral transport company after this chilling video surfaced. An employee is seen dragging a white body bag along the ground of an apartment building. The coroner's office confirmed the task of transporting a body normally requires 2 people. Still ahead, the Grinch that could steal Christmas from Canadian tree farmers. Well, it's exactly 5 weeks until Christmas and the time of year when tree sellers typically see a boom in business. But the trade war with the U.S. is putting a damper on their holiday cheer. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth finds out why.
For Christmas tree growers, this is always the busiest time of the year. Freshly cut trees are sold and shipped in time for December 25th. However, there are warning signs the industry could have a tough December.
The business is going to take a huge hit.
Colin Hughes ships more than 150,000 trees across Canada and around the world. His usual exports to the U.S. are down roughly 50% this year.
Down the eastern seaboard especially, there's I would say a nervousness.
According to Hughes, the trade war between Canada and the U.S. has pushed customers away from purchasing his trees.
General census that I was getting, in fact, some of them said, like, we can buy $300,000 worth of trees from you, which is great, but if a tariff comes on to them the last minute, it costs us an extra $50,000 in tariff, that's our profit.
The Christmas tree industry represents big business in Nova Scotia, generating more than $50 million in revenue while supporting thousands of jobs. University professor Dan Shaw says American customers are likely managing risk during a time of economic uncertainty.
People act not necessarily always on data, but on perception, and having instability of those relationships impacts people's purchasing decisions.
Colin Hughes says a drop in Christmas tree sales to the U.S. will impact his bottom line. But there is possibly some good news. If fewer trees are sold in the U.S., more trees could be available for sale here in Canada.
Orders are down this year, so there should be a surplus of trees locally.
Hughes hopes tree prices in Canada will stay the same as last year, with a greater variety for shoppers to choose from, which could help boost his business. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, New Ross, Nova Scotia.
Still ahead, how a Canadian costume maker is cashing in on the king of rock and roll. A BC company is taking care of business for fans who can't help falling in love with Elvis, stitching together costumes fit for a king. CTV's Andrew Johnson puts on his blue suede shoes for a closer look.
Inside a modest Nanaimo, BC home, you'll find one of the world's only major suppliers of a certain sort of swagger.
They're beautiful, you know. I never get tired of working on them.
Stitch by stitch, Eleanor von Bedeker and her staff recreate the signature look of one of the past century's brightest stars.
I think it's just Elvis is the full package.
I hope this suit don't tear up, baby. A big part of the Elvis Presley package is iconic 1970s jumpsuits, complete with cape. Von Bedeker, a costumer by trade, started making them for Elvis tribute artists close to 20 years ago. Now, with 8 employees, she can barely keep up with demand, shipping out 600 jumpsuits a year, each priced between $1,000 and $4,000. And her clients' average age may surprise you.
Teenagers or young adults who are just getting started.
Young performers like Jonathan Hicks, aka Johnny Elvis, who comes to Eleanor
It's a little tight across the thighs.
to perfect his look, impersonating the man he has idolized since he was 5.
I try to really study, go on my iPad, or I watch YouTube videos of him in the 70s. It's full time, and I'm very, very blessed to showcase my talent.
Hicks makes a living channeling Elvis full time, which I discovered is harder than it looks.
You do this whole stance, microphone in.
Left hand is mic.
And you can do a shimmy, you know? Faster. Come on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a labor of love for both Johnny and Eleanor, 2 of many, keeping the legend alive close to 50 years after Presley's death.
For my darling, I love you.
Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Nanaimo, BC.
Andrew is also a man of many talents. That's a snapshot of this Thursday. Heather Wright is here tomorrow. Thank you for watching and good night.